Hey guys, what's up? Time for another game theory video. And I'm going to do a game theory video talking about correlation does not equal causation a little bit here, and a little bit reading between the lines of what is being said here. And it's often a kind of idea that I talk about that one of the problems, quotation marks, of fighting games and why there is so much hate in it is because inherently, unlike other video games, fighting games are competitive. There has to be a winner and there has to be a loser, right? And I'm going to just read a little bit here, and I want you to read between the lines here of what is really being said, because this is like a false narrative, basically. A little bit of correlation doesn't equal causation. We'll talk a little bit about this here, right? So there's this whole thing, I guess some people are saying the damage is too high in Guilty Gear, blah, 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 blah. And they go on to say this specifically, though, that I want to talk about. It could be said, I was going to highlight it, but I can't highlight it. That's the production value we're dealing with here. It could be said that part of the appeal of the Guilty Gear series is the tension and exhilaration felt during fast-paced matches. In previous titles, however, the player could only experience this after practicing and learning complicated combos. Read between the lines here what they're trying to say, right? This idea that, someone was not able to enjoy Guilty Gear. They weren't able to enjoy a fighting game, maybe even, if you will, unless they put in all this practice, unless they learned all the complicated stuff. Do you realize what a false narrative how fucking complete bullshit this is? Do you remember the first time you played Street Fighter 2? Maybe you don't. Maybe you're not old enough. Did you have fun the first time you played Street Fighter 2 when you never even knew how to do a special move? You probably did. I can remember the first time I played Guilty Gear, but let's talk about Guilty Gear X, I guess, right? Remember the first time I played Guilty Gear X when it first came out? Do you think I was doing faultless defense cancel infinites when I first played Guilty Gear X? Do you think I was doing it? Think about any time, the very first time you played a specific fighting game, could you do the hardest stuff in the game? Obviously, probably not. And guess what? Were there times that you enjoyed that game? Maybe there were a lot of times you enjoyed that game. Did you enjoy playing your friend even though you didn't know what the fuck you were doing? Yeah, you did. Because this is complete bullshit. Correlation does not equal causation. I've talked about this in a lot of different ways, especially when people complain. Dragon Ball FighterZ is such a great example of correlation doesn't equal causation, because people talk about the problems of the game and they aren't actually, most people don't know what the fuck they're talking about, but that's a great gameplay kind of way of correlation doesn't equal causation. But this is really a mindset. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. This is complete Jimmy, complete bullshit. Lots of people enjoy fighting games the first time they play it when they don't know anything about the game, because it's just fun. Look at maybe I'm skipping ahead. I'm skipping ahead there a little bit, but this really gets down to, and it's the conundrum of fighting games that I've talked about before, is that fighting games, unlike other video games, are inherently competitive. There has to be a winner and there has to be a loser. And that's why it can potentially bring out the best in certain people, maybe perhaps from a certain perspective, and it can bring out the worst. Again, I'm such a great example of this. So, how many times have I read people literally try to say that I fake dying over a video game? That's how, a fighting game breeds that sort of competitive hate, because they were not that good at it. Look at, I constantly look at shit. I see people say I said shit I never said. People take stuff out of the context. People say I fake fucking dying all these years later. People make up fake tournaments that never happened and then say that I fake tournaments that I won. Just think about how ludicrous and ridiculous some of this shit is. And it's because fighting games are competitive, right? You can still have in your mind, when you very first played a game like Guilty Gear, hey, the first time I fucking played Dead or Alive 2, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, but you know what? When I did something, it looked cool to me. I don't know what I'm doing, but I had fun. First time I played Street Fighter 2, I don't know what I'm doing, but you know what? There was a lot of tension when I was playing, and there was a lot of exhilaration playing, and it felt fast-paced because the game was still fun. But this is the conundrum. You got to realize that not most people are not good at video games. Like I always said, most people are not good at video games. Most people can't talk about fucking video games. Look at all these fucking influencers and chillers right now. There's like, oh yeah, we knew the jumping was too powerful, like they said. Well, man, glad they realized it too. Motherfucker, what the fuck were you doing this past year and a half when I said it was? And you goes, oh no, Clayton's not right, blah, blah. It's only the interface in the lobby. The game is perfectly fine. Oh yeah, jumping is too powerful, even though we said it was very risky for a year and a half. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. These people that tell you about video games, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about, okay? Even look at the developers are telling you complete bullshit, dude, in these interviews. People still like video games, and it still feels exciting even when you don't know what you're doing. But a fighting game, if you want to be competitive at it, eventually you get to a point where you're talking about tournaments and everything like that. If you want to be competitive to that level, then yes, you need to get better at the game. And that gets into that problem of, you know what? Not everyone was meant to be good at video games. Not everyone was meant to be the star quarterback. Execution is a part of games. All these, there's so many different factors of what makes someone good at a fighting game, right? Do you get what I'm saying? Read between the lines here. This is complete bullshit because it's not actually true. This is just the gamification, an excuse to try to make video games simpler without seeing what the real problem is, dude, right? Hopefully you get what I'm saying there, because it's just it's such a false narrative, and it's really, and when you see developers even try to say this bullshit, but again, the Guilty Gear developers are the same people, and they said, oh, we don't know why we added the wall break because we haven't decided why you would never break the wall. So you put in the wall break because you didn't think of the mind game why it's there. You haven't decided why you would never not break the wall. Wow, you're a fucking genius. And don't get me wrong, the Daisuke Shibatara guy, whatever, me and a friend were talking about it, like, yo, he had his time, dude. But a lot of the shit that people are saying now about it, I don't know how much of a hand he has in developing the game and everything. A lot of this shit is just complete fucking bullshit, and they sound like fucking retards. They sound like just fucking retard. They sound just as retarded as a lot of these people shilling the game that shill fighting games in general. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about. It's retarded. Okay? So really, again, what I'm trying to get at is, correlation doesn't equal causation. People still enjoy fighting games even when you don't know what you're doing. But it's when you take the fighting game to the point of, hey, now if I actually want to get better, maybe to beat my friend because he's putting in more time than I am to actually win these matches, maybe I'm going to have to put in time too. And maybe even if I put in that time, maybe I just don't have that natural raw skill to be as good as them. And then it gets to that conundrum of fighting games. Inherently, fighting games are competitive. But just the idea that it could be said, read between the lines, that the appeal of Guilty Gear series is the tension and exhilaration felt during the fast-paced matches, but you could only experience this after practicing and learning complicated combos. That is not fucking true. It's not even remotely true for fighting games. It's not even, I would say it's not even fucking true for most video games, period. Do you ever play a video game? Do you play a video game? Could be a Sonic game, could be a Mega Man X game, could be whatever the fuck it wants to be. You know what I mean? Are you always speed running Sonic games? Are you always speed running Mega Man X games? No, you probably aren't, but you probably still can enjoy the game. This oversimplification of games, trying to say that, oh, that's going to be why people will enjoy the game now. There is no precedent for this ever being fucking true. Anyway, I feel like a lot of these topics are just so obvious and retarded. But anyway, just a little bit more of a complicated commentary on that. The end.